This episode of Cousins Sons is brought to you by the Masani Group. As you guys know, Garon and I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. One of our black belts is not only a black belt in BJJ, but also in the housing market. It can help you get the best deals on homes in the greater Los Angeles area. Just call the Masani Group at 626-263-0434 or visit their website at themasanigroup.com. This episode of Cousins Sons is brought to you by Authentic Muay Thai Supply. This is an online fightwear store where you can find the best, most authentic Muay Thai protection gear, training gear, boxing gloves, and Muay Thai shorts straight up from Thailand. Good prices, good people. Check them out over at authenticmuaythaisupply.com and enjoy this episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
Nailed it, Pepper.
You'll be proud of someone. Just give a chance to make yourself. If you don't like me here, I will be someone else.
Oh, yeah, we're back. And don't worry, Tom. I put a title over that so no one will see me touching your dick.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. That was my biggest fear.
Yeah, no, so it's okay.
But we won't
So-
blame out him telling the people that he's doing it.
No, everyone will know, but then they won't know if I actually did it or not.
Imagination, man.
Right? Yeah.
Mhm.
So there we are. So anyways, we're back. It's been a while. I don't even know what episode this is of Cousins and Sons. Who gives a fuck? We'll figure it out in the editing process, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Here we are back, but it's been crazy since we've been gone. Election, fraud, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi. You keep hearing these names, Tom, and most people don't know who the fuck these people are. So we brought to you guys someone that does. An avid, what would you say, listener, follower?
Twitter feed follower at this point.
He's a
mostly,
Twitter feed
honestly.
follower. He's a
It's
professional
devolved.
Twitter feed
It's devolved over the years from
That's what it is.
headlines to Reddit to now just Twitter. It's, you know, I mean, it all just depends on what your sphere is in a given moment.
Yeah, well, that's true too. Yeah, I know. I mean, I have my sources. I follow
So
Aaron
expert
has
of
his
nothing.
sources. He follows.
Expert of nothing.
So yeah, but you do pay. You do know in depth more than the average Joe, I would say.
Well, I guess. I appreciate that. I don't know if I agree with you, but I'll take it.
Okay.
I guess what are we saying at this point? That the election just kind of that's been the news the last
The election is the news.
2 weeks,
Mhm.
11 days, something
2
along
weeks,
those lines. At this
4
point.
years. 4 years.
Yes, no, well,
Feels like 4 years.
certainly, exactly. Well, and then just after that initial 5-6 days of just watching, we watched ABC.
Constantly.
Yes, no,
All
and
day.
exact same numbers coming up every single day. You turn it on, you leave the house, you come back. It's the exact same numbers. It's the exact same talking points. It's the same faces. You don't know if it was recorded 2 hours ago or if it's live because they come on 6 times a day. It was really disorienting.
Wrong.
Yeah, no, yeah. Fake news.
Wrong.
Oh, we should get a fake news button.
Oh, we need a fake news button.
Yeah, especially for these political conversations. But no, Tom. Yeah, you were saying.
Well, no, that's all I'm saying is just, the snapshot of where we are. We went through that week and then what was that, Saturday
Mhm.
that people started calling Pennsylvania for Biden. So that was that point, everybody started partying. We were hearing, various, despite COVID, there's partying in the streets of Chicago. I'm sure there's partying in the streets of
LA. Is there
most
partying over
places.
there,
I
Garen?
don't-
Yeah, Beverly Hills area.
Colorado Springs, that's where we are, people. We're in Colorado Springs, and people here, being a conservative land, are just sad.
Yeah,
So,
it's just a little bit down
Well,
key.
it is,
People
but it is
aren't
funny how
talking
that
about
works.
it anymore.
Yeah, it's funny how Colorado Springs is like the conservative of the Colorado in experience. Like when people are like, "Oh, isn't it very liberal?" I'm like, "Not where I'm from."
No, not at all.
Neither one of us.
No,
Uh-uh.
absolutely. No, this was there were a lot of Trump trucks. There's still a lot of Trump trucks, the flags and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because
And,
it's not over.
yeah, I mean, they go racing down the street in Manitou, honking and wait, So there's plenty of that here. So I'd say the general mood here is subdued, but everybody kind of at this point is just like, oh well, I didn't care that much anyway. Is kind of seems to be the realm to which it's going now. So that's one side of things. The liberals are partying. The, you know, people in the middle are just going to like, at least I don't have to hear about it anymore. And then there's the kind of Trumper side of things where this is the big hoax, this is the fraud that we've been waiting for, and that all 5 of the states that Biden is ahead of currently, as of calls as of today, because with today, North Carolina was called for Trump, and Georgia was called for Biden. Now there's still going to be a recount in Georgia, and I think in Wisconsin, possibly in Arizona. However, the amounts of votes that have changed to recounts have typically been in the few hundreds, and this would be 10, 20, 60,000, depending on which state you're talking about. So
right. So what are your thoughts on the fraud? So yeah, your personal thoughts.
Well,
like what's going on? What do you think is going on with this fraud?
Nothing.
You think absolutely
I think
nothing.
there is nothing, but clearly I'm coming from a certain political standpoint.
For sure, and that's fine.
But I would say probably the best way to look at it is the difference between a legal case regarding the election, such as 2000, where you would see that process get fully engaged, it go up, all of the appeals change, make it to the Supreme Court, have significant debates of that. And what's going on in Bush v. Gore in 2000 is a much more clear legal dispute between the state and the county's manner of counting ballots, and what they counted and what they decided was invalid, with the dimpled hanging chads and all of this. And so eventually that whole process of these, because they're paper ballots, and so you punch them. Right. And so then they would punch them and it wouldn't go all the way through. So it'd be like hanging off. So that was sort of legal fights over that. So similar in the degree of the amount of legal battles that were happening, but it focused on one state then. Which was one pretty much came down to one specific issue that was then eventually decided by the Supreme Court, not really even deciding the issue, much more saying this has gone on too long. It's December 9th, 10th. In 2000.
Do you think in any way that any of these cases is going to be brought to the Supreme Court?
No, I don't think any of them will even get
now if it does.
Now there's the Pennsylvania case that they already heard. They could hear that. And that one, I wouldn't be surprised if that comes up. I wouldn't be surprised if they even switch and say that the votes that came in for 3 days following the election in Pennsylvania can't be counted. That still wouldn't make up the 60,000 lead that Biden has. So that's the only one that could even hit the Supreme Court. They probably don't want any part of any of this. They mostly want it all to go away.
And if it hit the Supreme Court, now let's just say, like Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania made it to the Supreme Court.
Yes.
Okay? Would that be enough for the Supreme Court to decide whether, like, who's the president at that point?
No. At this point, it wouldn't change anything. Which is
because he's already winning by so much. He's already won by so much, and Pennsylvania's only 20 electoral.
Right.
That
but
case
not
wouldn't
just
change Pennsylvania.
Right,
but because that would only affect about 20,000 votes, and the lead is so big.
Right. Well, the lead is so big, but like, didn't Gore have a lead back in?
Depending on which votes you counted, it was kind of the other way around, actually.
Well, but the final outcome is Gore still
wanted a recount. He was the one who, if they counted all of the votes, they ended up throwing out about 60,000 votes on the recount in Florida back in 2000. If all of those votes had been counted, Gore would have won.
Okay.
So it was kind of almost flipped around. At least that's what, in terms of what the Trump campaign is claiming. They're kind of claiming that they're in the Gore position. In almost a weird sense. They're not. The math doesn't actually work.
No, and I agree with you.
Because it would take 5 cases of the math just being crazy. They'd have to figure out how to get tens of thousands of votes thrown out in 5 different states, or at least 3 of those.
Oh yeah.
So it's just seems to be a very different case. So as to whether there are individual cases, I haven't seen anything speaking to any form of voter fraud that on any form of widespread level. However, and the claims mostly now seem to be based on that the election wasn't secure enough, that the people who were supposed to be there from both parties watching the election to make sure that nobody's cheating weren't allowed enough access, not enough were allowed in. Some were challenged who shouldn't have been challenged and weren't allowed in. And so what they're saying, roughly, they're trying to get to a point where they can say, because we can't go back to these people who are there to watch the election and make sure that it all went okay. They're called challengers. at the polls. So they sit there and hover over the poll workers and watch what they're doing. And that's a totally normal part of the procedure. But so they're saying, since we weren't allowed to properly do that, which is what most of these court cases are about, is disputes over whether or not they were allowed to do that. So differences in, were they allowed in at all? Did they have to stand 200 feet away? Did they have to stand 10 feet away? Did they have to stand 6 feet away? So actually that's the one case the Trump team won so far,
Right, yeah.
was they were allowed to move to 6 feet away from 10.
Did you see today, Steele? I don't know if you did, Tom, about the Homeland Security talking about?
In terms of the like the director, because there's a few different administration positions that have recently been vacated.
Well, no, as of today, Department of Homeland Security declared flatly that the election was the most secure in nation's history.
Yes, okay. Absolutely. Yeah, yes. And so at this point, I mean, the Trump camp really isn't responding to that. They're pretty much just saying this will come out. Trump's speech today, I didn't see much of it, but seemed to be a lot more tonally him saying, kind of we'll fight to win later, and but they're definitely not going to concede anytime soon. So now we're just kind of in this this weird zone, which is not abnormal for 2020.
Because from what I understand, like no one that can call the election has called the election.
Because the Trump appointee to, and I can't remember who this is. I think it is.
Agree with the outcome.
There's some official who is the person whose job it is to say, okay, this is accepted, and she is refusing to do that. I can't remember what her name is, but there is a specific person who's in the Trump camp, who's kind of deciding not to do that yet. And again, the Trump camp would argue for valid reasons concerning fraud. I don't think any of that's going to be borne out legally.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's not looking good.
So now at this point, I mean, it's the big question is the Senate race in Georgia.
Right. Which is what I wanted to get to next.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the Republicans have this, are very likely to keep the Senate. They have 50 seats. So they're definitely going to end up in a tie at best for the Democrats. And the Democrats have to win 2 seats at the same time in Georgia, both of which they're polling down in. So we'll see what that looks like. Now that could be a bunch of money pumping into Georgia in the next couple of months. That's definitely going to happen on both sides.
Is he the 4th president to only go 1 term, or to be voted?
In terms of total, I don't know. In terms of recently, it's been a while. Not many.
I thought he was the 4th one. I thought that's why people were even joking even more.
I don't think total. Well, I think possibly in the 20th century and on, I could see that.
Gotcha.
Because I can think of a couple. Carter was 1 term. Bush elder was one term. Ford, but he doesn't count because
I'm just wondering
he was never elected to begin with.
Whose idea was it to wait 2 fucking months before you have to give over reins? Like losing right now. I feel.
I think they have a lot of information.
Right, actually, in this moment, I feel bad for Trump because, no, why would you want to lose something and be like, all right, now I still have to go talk to the country as the president for the next 2 months? And I get, you want the transfer of power, you want it to go smoothly, but it's never smooth when you lose. Like, who wants to get up be in that situation?
Well, it's a good point. And I think the goal would be the
poor man.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it like in the West Wing version of the world. I mean, it's like you think of the talking the TV show. So thinking of what the West Wing TV show is kind of like, at the very least, like the liberal idea of what politics should be, in a sense. But it kind of goes back to all these basic principles that everybody should be fine with, and that the peaceful transfer of power has always been one of those things. It's very romanticized on both sides. It's considered to be a tenet of democracy, and reasonably enough, because when you see totalitarian dictatorships form in South America and various other parts of the world, a big part of what happens with that typically is just disputing elections. And once you don't have one leader saying, okay, it's over, you win, here you go, here's the keys, essentially, let me go show you what matters, let me give you the codes that matter, here's the door that squeaks when you open it too much in the West Wing. There's a sense of that kind of both decorum and necessity to have a smooth transition. And so I saw on Twitter earlier today, all of these handwritten notes from the last 4 to 5 presidents to the next one when they
Okay.
were transitioning over. And so you have from Obama, actually his is typed, it's not handwritten, which I thought was slight. Just I don't know if that was a stylistic thing or because he legitimately hates Donald Trump. That note of personality wasn't there. But going back there's very gracious notes, and of course Twitter's going on about this because the idea of Trump writing a gracious note is just kind of so silly. Just he will not do that. That won't be a thing. And not that the note itself matters, but it's interesting that there's a tradition of that, of kind of that friendly passing along of saying, hey, this job is unlike anything else. Whether I agree with you or disagree with you, best of luck. But most of those presidents were 2-term presidents. So they had 8 years. So that takes the sting away a little bit because you didn't lose. Your party lost.
Yeah, true.
But then you go back to George H.W. Bush in 92, and again, a very beautiful, little note written to Clinton, who had just beat him in a pretty ugly election.
Yeah.
And again, that
remember
transfer power is there. So this is a little different.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
No,
dealing with a different kind of politician.
Yeah, different kind of. And I just fact checked it. He's the 10th.
Okay.
President who didn't get reelected, but it's been since, like you just said, Bush. So 28 years since it did happen.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
no, absolutely. Well, and there's been kind of a style to it too, where you typically win the presidency in, kind of a landslide for the electorate in general, in that the last multiple presidents have gotten to start, well, after the other party had the office for 8 years. So they came in when everybody hates the other party because they're sick of them after 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
So usually that election, who's ever coming in wins the presidency, the Senate, and the House all at the same time. All of our recent elections have started that way, where a president was starting a new term, including Trump, including Obama, including Bush, I think including Clinton, all came in with a trifecta of controlling everything. So their first 2 years, they got to do anything they wanted to do. So now we're seeing a break from that in a few ways, where Biden's coming in without a trifecta, probably. If these Georgia elections, both of the special elections in January.
So is it trifecta with Bush? Sorry, with W?
I believe so. I'm 95% certain that both he and Clinton had a trifecta going in.
Huh. Okay.
But we can check that.
Well, I mean, whatever.
But
I don't even know what to look up for that. I'm too dumb to.
Well, it's just like did they control the Senate and the House at the same time? So when Bush was in office, did the Senate and the House were both Republican control?
In 2000. Coming
right.
out of that.
Coming into it.
Coming out of the 2000 election.
Right.
So that's starting in early 2001.
Right.
The Republicans were completely in control. I can definitely. Okay. I'm almost certain that was true with Bush. I'm certain that was true with Obama,
kind of crazy.
And certain that was true with Trump. Right.
Right.
And so now Biden not only is the first following the first non-2-term president in a long 30 years, 28 years we were saying, but also he doesn't have that trifecta, probably. If the Democrats win both of the Georgia Senate races, then Kamala Harris is the deciding vote in the Senate. So then the Democrats control the Senate 50-50, but they get the tiebreaker. Right.
Because of Kamala.
So yes.
Okay.
So that's possible. It's not even likely, but that's possible.
Just because they're polling so slow in Georgia.
Well, they polled a lot better than they should have. They got close enough to have it be a runoff election. But the chances of 2 Democrats winning in Georgia traditionally would be considered completely impossible is now in this new kind of blue turning Georgia world potentially possible, but still not super likely.
Right.
So even if that does happen, then Biden's not going to he would technically have a trifecta, but he would not have anywhere near the power that any of those previous presidents came in with big Senate leads, big House leads. Democrats actually lost some seats in the House and won. So there's a good chance that Biden's going to come in and be pretty much completely hamstrung by a Republican Senate. So we're not going to see what we saw with Trump, where he came in, was able to do a lot of stuff he wanted to do early on. Obama was able to push through Obamacare in those first 2 years before he had a lot of Republican opposition that was strong enough to fight back. And they still didn't get the public option in. But that's a whole different.
When did Mitch McConnell become the leader of the Senate?
A long time ago. I'm trying to remember who the last.
Or so the Republicans.
Certainly 10 years ago.
Okay.
By 10 years ago.
Okay.
I don't know how far preceding that. I definitely know.
I know he's 78 years old. That's all I do know.
They're all
They're very old. They're all
old now.
Literally what's popping up on here, and I'm like, I can't research this. I'm not young, Jay.
Sorry. Just rolling through.
No, I mean like.
So is that a fair update on where we are? I don't know how boring that was.
No, that was brilliant. That was brilliant.
No, it's definitely not brilliant.
Now you're ruining the show, Tom, because your confidence went down.
Did we at least get there?
No, we got there.
Okay.
No, we're not even. Where are we at on time there, Garon?
We're at 19 minutes.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
Well,
So
whatever the case is.
No, we have plenty of time.
Next?
No,
what
I mean,
next
well,
in terms of the politics.
One thing. This is one person I want to talk.
Okay. You go. Go, Steele.
Okay. Well, one person I did want to talk to you about that because I find him fascinating. That you find him fascinating. It makes me more fascinated in him that you find him fascinating. Does that make sense?
I'm intrigued.
Which is Mitch McConnell.
Well, I mean, he's
just because like how you talk about how good of a politician he is.
Well, yeah, he's the best.
So he's just like
he's
really good
winning.
at negotiating.
Well, he's really good at winning.
Yes.
And he's been doing this for a very long time. He's one of the best of the career politicians right now, and circumstances handed him a number of chances to prove kind of his very procedurally brilliant and Machiavellian. Why I don't know.
Garon and I are
Whatever.
going
Yeah, well, no, but I
Smart either way.
it's been a minute. No,
just
not
go with it.
anymore.
Don't question yourself.
Not anymore.
2015 is when he.
Was it 15?
Well, I'm just reading here. It just says
No.
office January 3rd, 2015 for the Senate Majority Leader. Is that what we're looking at? What are we?
Yeah, Senator. Yeah.
Yep.
So
that was the last time that he came into office. I could have sworn that he was the Senate Majority Leader during.
He was in office January in 2007 to 2015.
Real quick, Garon, there's something fuzzy.
But he was
hearing.
not
Do you
this-
hear that? Okay, that was it. Okay, whatever that was. Okay, sorry. Continue.
But he was not the Senate Majority Leader until 15.
Yeah. So
okay,
Minority Leader from 2007 to 2015.
Oh, right, because the Democrats had the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
So he was still the lead Republican in the Senate. He just wasn't the majority.
Well, yeah, because that would make sense.
2007. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, if we're talking about McConnell, I mean, it's like going back to, I mean, he's just been a major player for a long time. What his legacy is going to be, and this goes back to a battle procedurally between him and Obama in 2013, 2014, also kind of were House Republicans against Obama in 2013, 2014, by which point Obama had lost the House, or not Obama, the Democrats lost the House in 2010. So for a long time, for the rest of his presidency, Obama had to deal with a Republican House that was very hostile to him. So he couldn't get a lot of things passed, especially budgets, things that the House is more likely to deal with. He still had the Democrat control of the Senate for a while, but he didn't have enough support to get most of his judges through. And this is where McConnell is best, is procedural issues concerning appointing judges and blocking the appointments of judges. And he will go down in history as being the best to ever do this in American politics.
He's a gangster. 78-year-old gangster.
He is. I would consider him also to be a big villain. If you know,
he's the Democrats' biggest enemy.
Well, he's
probably even more so than Trump.
He is the most successful enemy of the Democrats, more so than Donald Trump.
Well, actually, for sure, more than Donald Trump.
Certainly, yeah.
He ain't going anywhere.
And McConnell's gonna keep rolling until his train, stops. But
polio? What? This is weird.
Hey, we never said he was a healthy guy.
but whatever the case is, McConnell. So back at that time period, Harry Reid, who was then the Senate Majority Leader for the Democrats, had changed the rules from confirming judges. It's a little more complicated than this, related to like the filibuster. There was a bunch of things going on, but essentially what happened is they changed the Senate rules to make confirming justices easier, and that was a Very, very dangerous thing to do, because then if you lose power, and you lose power to someone like Mitch McConnell, well, yeah, you got some of your judges through when McConnell was successfully blocking them when you had to get 60 votes. But now you just handed that to this guy. And McConnell, since he's taken power, and then Trump comes in following this, and this hands McConnell everything he needed. McConnell was already pulling strings and just generally playing the politics game in the Senate better than Reid, better than Chuck Schumer, who is the Senate Majority Leader now, and after Reid. Well, yes, exactly, Minority Leader, the leader of the Democrats in the Senate.
Right. And
I would say consistently McConnell has outsmarted Schumer. Now, Schumer, for the last couple of years, has had no hand to play with because Trump they want a trifecta. Republicans have been in control of everything except for the House 2 years ago flipped big for blue. So that's how you get the impeachment. That's how you get a lot of the Trump pushback the last 2 years is from the House. But the Senate, Republicans have completely dominated. So McConnell has been able to push through with those new rules, a lot of which the Democrats put in place to help Obama out, has pushed it's a very, very large number. I don't want to go off, but by far the highest amount of federal judges ever confirmed by any administration, and he did it in 4 years. He passed that number sometime in like 2.5 years, I'm pretty sure. Then he also got 3 Supreme Court justices, one of which he straight up stole in a political move that was genius, but also should not have worked. It should have been stopped at some juncture, but the Democrats thought they were going to win the election. So in 2015, you have Antonin Scalia, historic, legendary conservative on the Supreme Court, dies. The Republicans swear, well, Obama's not going to fill his seat. Not a great conservative like Scalia. We're not going to allow that to happen. So Obama nominates a very reasonable, moderate judge, Merrick Garland, very, very well respected on all sides, not a big liberal, definitely realizes he doesn't have a huge power position. Well, McConnell just straight up takes all of the power in the situation, says, well, I control the Senate, so we don't ever have to do this because I run this. So you can nominate whoever you want. We're just never going to vote. I'm just never, ever going to let it come to a vote. So he did that for a year, saying, well, we should let the American people decide who gets to fill this seat. So they did that for a year. Democrats bitched a lot, but didn't really fight it because they thought, well, it's Trump. Hillary's going to win anyway.
Right.
Then we'll beat McConnell on this. Then we'll, have the majority in the court moving forward. That's, well, then Trump happened.
Yeah.
And then the Republicans put in Gorsuch, who's a perfectly reasonable justice, but stealing a seat like that with that blatant of a political power move, saying, I have the Senate, so go to hell.
It was a chess move.
Well, it was a chess move. And it was him saying, oh, well, you all changed this rule. So now I'm just going to kind of start changing all the rules any way I need to because I can.
Right.
And McConnell was so you could say that he's instrumental in getting to a point where it's hard to trust any form of nonpartisanship in the judiciary. It's hard to, that's why you have discussion of stacking courts on the left right now that is getting support by mainstream Democrats. Mm-hmm. I find myself being more inclined towards stacking courts, although that's something that I would not have
said
with.
Before. Yeah,
would not have agreed with up until
that might be
recently.
a good segue. That might be a good segue to go into stacking courts. And because it doesn't seem like a good idea to me.
It wouldn't have happened unless the Democrats
there's always been 9. No.
They added. There used to. I think there were 5 at one juncture. There's. We can check this exactly, but there.
How many? Yeah.
There's been
when
9 since sometime in the mid 1800s.
9 what?
Supreme Court justices.
If we could double check that.
How many?
When did they start appointing 9? Because he said it was 5. So it was 5 to start out with.
I don't remember if it was 5.
Well, it's definitely 9.
How long has it been?
I know. I'm looking up.
And that 9 was originally related to judicial districts of the United States, of which there are now 13 or 14. I think there are 14 now. So that number is kind of arbitrary, but it has been 160, 70 years or something like that it's been 9. So there's some decent argument for that, but there's no constitutional basis whatsoever for the number.
Okay.
That's not in the Constitution at all.
Mm-hmm.
So
the point of stacking the court would just be stack a bunch of
the point
Democrat
would be
judges.
that if McConnell's going to say, I can do this, right? Which this is why.
Why wouldn't they do that?
Why not? If they get in control and they can change the rules too.
So do you think they would?
If they could, I don't think they're going to be able to.
Because of Joe Biden being president?
No, because they're not going to have a strong enough majority in the Senate. They would need now to actually like really change some of this stuff. Like they would
because of course all the Democrats would vote against it, and then you'd also have some Republicans voting against that as well, huh?
Against which there, if we're talking
against
about
stacking the court.
Well, the Democrats would generally be in favor of it, but you have all the Republicans voting against it.
Gotcha. So it was
one way or another. It's not going to be a thing. I think that was something to be brought up during the election as more of a talking point for that, and to make Biden try to answer that question, which he didn't ever answer. Actually, that was one of the bigger points that they actually got them on, where the Democrats really couldn't say anything because they didn't want to say no while they're shoving Barrett down their throats and saying, well, Barrett, after Ginsburg, who, if you're talking conservative titan of the court, shouldn't be replaced by a liberal, ostensibly, president in his final year, well, then you have a liberal titan of the court, Ginsburg, die a month before the election.
Right.
And then the Republicans had no concerns whatsoever, being like, well, no, Trump can definitely do that. That's fine. We'll push her through no matter what. There was the hypocrisy of it was not even pretended to be worked around, in terms of
that is his job to appoint
sure,
the judge.
You can.
Yeah.
Well, right.
So there's nothing wrong with it.
Well, it's massively hypocritical. It's showing that what they did back in 2015, 2016 was just partisan and had no actual basis whatsoever in letting the people decide, because that was a year. So it's massively hypocritical, but if you control the Senate, you can do things like that.
Right.
Well, but if you're the Democrats, how do you respond to that? Except by saying, well, when we control the Senate, we're gonna
stack the
screw
court.
you over any single possibly way we can.
I see.
And so that's where I kind of start to agree with it, because McConnell is so good at that, and also so willing to go there, that at some point you have to be able to fight back. Now, you also don't want to throw everything away, because once you throw all the rules out, well, we're just fucked. And there's nothing
Russia.
to go back to.
We've had nine since 1869, by the way.
Okay. Do you know how many there were when it first started?
37 years or so, or 67 years, 167 years.
What? Huh? 6
nothing.
years.
No, 167.
I was like, what? No, but it's been as low as 5 and as much as 10. And then in 1869, they changed it to 9. But the reason it fluctuated before that was straight up to help the party that was in the lead, their goals. Pretty much. They're like, we need 5, or we need.
So they stack the court.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So it wouldn't be illegal or unconstitutional for them to try to do that. I don't know that it's the right move politically, because also the thing with the Supreme Court is, you don't, like, Trump right now is kind of, or I'm seeing people, some random people come through that are saying, well, once this goes to the Supreme Court is just gonna. They're going to make this work just like they didn't do this. And they're just misunderstanding how the justices on the Supreme Court think of themselves. They may be partisan, they may be conservative or liberal, and that's why they're put there by the people who put them there. But their ego also is nicely helped by the fact that they have a lifetime appointment. No one can touch them on anything whatsoever.
Yeah.
They don't owe any president or anyone anything. So thinking that all of these justices are automatically big Trump fans because he put them on the court, or because they're conservative in general, I think is a mistake.
Okay.
On another level as well. Because if you're talking about someone like Amy Coney Barrett, right? Very religious Catholic,
right?
Adopted mother of 7, whatever the case may be, is probably not somebody who personally likes Donald Trump that much.
I would imagine not.
At least, I mean, maybe, but I doubt it.
Maybe she likes some things he did. I don't know if she likes him as a person.
And supports the conservative movement, and
For sure.
And
I
all
think
Trump has done to forward that, which has been a ton. at
Right.
this point.
Right. He's
So-
definitely he grabbed them Christians and he
he used them for all the
He's
work.
like, come
That's
here.
it.
I got the Bible.
Like-
I know the Bible. I know the
Do you
Bible well.
Do you see him holding that though?
Like in that photo.
When he was holding the Bible
Yeah.
for that, it's
Yeah.
just
It
just
was,
a
yeah.
funny, it's just a dumb way to hold a book.
Good photo though. You know,
I
whoever-
mean,
credit for whoever took that photo. Like, good photo.
anyway, yeah.
Just imagine getting that photo and like, I mean, do you think that photographer gained any fame from that? Probably some.
There were some folks out there. It wasn't. Yeah, I mean, there was like a newsreel on it or two as well, because they had done the thing with the tear gas right before that too, which was a little overplayed, I will say, by leftist media a little bit. But I mean, that is what they did. They tear gassed the protesters out of the area so that they could have a photo op in front of it. But it wasn't, this massively violent interaction.
Right.
Yeah. So what now?
I mean, I don't know.
I
Like,
mean, not
I would
on
just
the
say,
pod,
I would
but
say,
in
moving
country.
forward. Well, moving
In the
forward,
country.
what do you think? What do you think 2021 brings? I mean, as far as COVID goes.
Yeah, do you think now
Mostly more COVID.
is COVID over now?
No, it's actually more
Doesn't
rampant
seem to
than
be.
ever.
Election's over? Is it over now? Can we come out?
Doesn't appear.
Well, that's what I was just saying is conservatives are going to be so happy for COVID in 3 months because now it will be all Biden's fault. Everything will be Biden's fault. And that's fine because everything, I mean, it may not be completely fair, but at the end of the day, that's just how it goes.
That's how it goes.
And so it's not like COVID's going anywhere. I mean, the numbers are as worse as possible.
Sounds like things are getting shut down again.
1,700 people died yesterday.
100.
Yeah, 1,700. Yeah. You're gonna see like cases of nearly 200,000 new cases a day seems to be where we're climbing to.
Day.
We've
It's a
been
fucking
over
number, bro.
100,000
It's a
for
big
I mean that may be a bit out, but that's projections. That's what Fauci's saying.
Yeah.
And by January, February, it should be bad. Like that should be the worst we've seen. Is still a couple months away. So I'm expecting 2001 or
think February's a
2021.
21.
Good thing
to be-
February is a shorter month, guys. That means we don't have to
Exactly.
just get back to March.
Comes through. And hey, stimulus.
Full circle.
Stimulus at some juncture, once the politics die down, apparently just a touch more.
Yeah, well, I hope
Some stimulus deals will start happening.
Bail some businesses out and whatnot. So yeah,
But I think,
So-
2021 is going to be a lot of COVID and just reacting.
You think it's going to be
COVID.
just a repeat of 2020?
I think it's just going to be worse in terms of that, and then
Hmm.
more shut down overall. Like I mean, we'll see, but I think that's going to be almost more the story of 2021 than the story of 2020.
Dude,
Is how we deal with COVID moving forward.
right.
2020, the beginning of the end. 2021, the end. That was it. On
We'll
with
find out. I mean,
the end.
yeah. We will find out, and well, we'll let you know.
Will we look back and just think that 2020 was the last of the good years? It's always possible.
Sorry.
Is that a baby
That
crying?
was baby crying. That's a baby.
That was beautiful.
I don't know if we picked that up on our end, actually. Did you hear that? I heard a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Or it was either that or a
What
gate.
I do to the baby. Did you hear the smack? You guys can barely hear it. I'm just having a blast.
So so this is completely off the political conversation, but it's something I've been wanting to talk about. I want to bring up to Garon because Garon and I haven't been able to talk about, and Garon and I, as people know, train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Which, if you train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you're probably going to watch MMA. If you watch MMA, you're probably going to start watching other types of combat sports. So,
Like NASCAR. No.
Exactly.
yeah. When they're wrecking,
It's all for the crashes.
Yeah, it's all for the crashes. So the news going on around about Dante Wilder, the former WBC, I believe, heavyweight champion of the world from Alabama. He fought Tyson Fury last year, 2019. I can't remember. Or was it earlier this year? God, this seems so. This shit is just.
I know, it seems
so long. Okay, well, the second time he fought Tyson Fury, he lost, and his coach threw in the towel. I'm not sure what that's called in boxing, but his coach threw in the towel, and he's blaming. So he at first his excuse for losing the fight was that he wore this heavy armor out to the ring.
Yep.
And he said his legs were exhausted by the time he got out there. Okay, bullshit, but whatever. And it's on you if that is
Terrible
true.
excuse
Terrible
across the board.
excuse.
Across the board.
Well, now, Garon. So now he's claiming that Tyson Fury's gloves were tampered with, that he had egg whites in his gloves. He's saying that his coach tampered with his water and put something in his water to make him wheezy. And which is crazy because the commission goes through your gloves, they go through your water, they go through everything that goes to the ring. And so, so he's claiming that. What was another bizarre one he was claiming? What was it? I can't remember. But anyways, he came out with this video with like this music playing in the background and stuff, just quoting the Bible, like saying, basically just saying he got screwed and that, you know, that God will you know, reveal his like.
I mean, it's an American sporting event. That's always appropriate for losing an American sporting event, right? Appeal to God and rail about the future.
I guess, but I mean, it's a little ridiculous because you lost fair and square, bro. You know what I mean? He could knock us out.
Well, of course.
But like, but yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up because Garon and I haven't been able to talk about fighting in a while.
I know. And that's
like, I don't know. I just find, you know, in the sports world or the combat sports world anyways, like it's a big talking point right now is his excuses.
no, yeah, which it seems like everybody who keeps losing has excuses.
Yeah. Well, no, it's true.
Own it.
Yeah, it's
Why
true.
can't we just own when we lose?
Just own when you lose, you know?
It's a bad look.
I suck at losing too, but come on, let's just own it, guys. Let's just, you know, I didn't own, you know, Baltic Place and I didn't land on free parking. I lost. Okay, Grandma, get off my back. Jesus Christ. God. Sorry. I get mad when I talk about Monopoly. Let's see.
So many bad memories of Monopoly.
So many bad.
Nothing else.
No, I think UFC. Who's fighting tomorrow?
I don't know, but I'm actually headed to Fort Collins to look that up real quick. I know it. I can't remember his freaking name. He's that Irish guy that freaking.
Yeah, the Irish. I mean, last minute.
Rafael dos Santos, I think, or dos Santos, I think, is who he's fighting. Look at the main card there the main card in the.
I was just watching the pre-fight tonight. That's how bad I am with remembering of things. Did you watch Bryce Mitchell a few weeks on Halloween?
Dude, I didn't.
Did you didn't see even a repeat of it?
I didn't even know. I didn't even like look into it. I should have though. But what happened?
It was a good fight. Like, I mean, you could tell it was his harder fight.
Lots of jiu-jitsu?
But yeah, he kept getting him on the ground, and it was just, yeah, it was jiu-jitsu.
Dude, that kid's a badass, dude.
Let me
He's
see.
like this. I think he's from Kentucky, somewhere over there.
Yeah, he finally got to wear his. It would have sucked if he would have lost because he fought so hard to be able to wear camo shorts. Because the UFC wouldn't let him wear it. Every match he kept asking. They're like, nope, nope, nope. And in his last fight, besides this one, before it, he jumped over and was like, hey, where's my shorts? And they're like,
Okay.
your shorts. You can wear your camo shorts.
Okay,
Yeah, Felder, and
yeah, yep.
Santos.
Yeah, dos Santos. Yeah, okay. So Felder, he's an announcer. You'll see him commentating.
I was watching his stuff and I was like, I remember him fighting, but I don't put two and two together. I know him only as the announcer, more or less, because of how long I've been watching for in the last 2 years. He's been more of an announcer.
Right. No, he hasn't fought much.
Yeah, so now seeing him, I'm like, oh, wow. Most of his fights, he was didn't have much of a beard even. Or if he did, his hair was shorter. Like it was, I'm like, oh, cool. And didn't he get put on this card last minute?
I don't know. I'm not really sure.
I think someone dropped out or someone got COVID or something, and he got
thrown on.
He got thrown on, yeah.
Well, hopefully the dude's in shape.
He even said, he's like, it doesn't matter if I get 1 week, the normal thing, 1 week, 2 weeks. He's like, I'm a fighter. If anybody's coming at me to try to fight me, I'm going to kick their ass.
I don't need a camp. What you talking about?
Yeah, no camp.
But he was showing his camp that he was doing for the last week or two, or however long he has known. And
he seems like a guy that kind of stays in shape year round anyway.
I mean, if you're going to be announcing, you kind of don't want to be the guy who shows up and is like overweight while you're talking about how these guys should be,
Right.
Nip escape.
It's like a fat personal trainer.
Just like a man, he just looks winded, guys. He looks winded. His cardio's not there.
Yeah, what a loser.
Yeah, but yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I really have no predictions on this weekend because I haven't even looked too much into the card. I don't even think I know too many people on the card. But
There's a lot in the
but
prelim.
we still haven't talked about that Habib. Well, I think you and I talked about it a little bit, but not on the podcast. Is the Habib Gaethje fight, which is nuts.
Nuts.
Colorado, shout out.
Shout out. Yeah, it was. Yeah, we didn't talk about it. We only texted about it. I'm glad I watched it.
Pure grappling domination.
Pure grappling. And it was one of those where, yeah, like even the fact that he got out of the first round was amazing. Like he almost had him at the beginning of at the end of the first round, I mean. And then for it to come back and then him to get him on the ground. And in that moment, I was telling Leon, who we were watching it with, I was like, nope, he's done. Oh no, he's even done even more. I was like, from that position, I was like, he has about 5 different options that he can go to right now. Like
for sure 3.
Yeah, for sure 3 from
for
that.
For sure 3.
But he can, he probably has 2 others that he has up his sleeves that he can go that we don't even see.
I think Gaethje's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. But I don't know. You know what? Okay, so like the third, so it would be the triangle, which he got, the armbar, and an omoplata. So like, but omoplata, how many fucking guys, how often do you see that in UFC, an omoplata?
You don't, because
ever.
It's to grab on, and in general to grab on even in gi, let alone having to hold on, put it like.
I mean, I feel like at some point in jiu-jitsu history, we could find a video of black belts getting black belts in omoplats. But I feel like nowadays, a black belt getting a black belt in omoplata, would you see that? You know?
Oh yeah, no, I don't.
Probably not. Like, omoplata seems like one of those. It's one of those moves. I feel like that's you do it to fuck with the lower belts. You know.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a setup move.
It's true too.
It's more of a setup move than anything.
It's more just to open something else up.
Out of curiosity, for someone who's completely uninitiated, is it even possible to take something like was that omoplata and separate that from everything else that's going on to describe that in a manner that would make sense on its own without, you know what I mean? Because everything's kind of a reaction to everything else. You know what I mean? So
so to describe an omoplata,
is there a way to break in and isolate what an omoplata is?
You're isolating.
It's a shoulder lock.
Yeah.
Okay.
To sum it up, it's a shoulder lock, but you do it with your leg. So I'm locking your shoulder with my leg, and trapping your arm in between my legs. Okay. So that's why I'll work with a triangle, is because you have someone triangled, right? And let's say the triangle's not tight, but their weight shifting a little this way, then you can switch over to the omoplata, which, you know, your leg would go around their arm, so they would be kind of like this. Their arm's right here, and then you're cranking this way.
So presumably that's complicated enough that somebody who's at a high enough level just would be able to defend that. Is kind of what you're saying.
I would imagine.
Almost always.
I would imagine.
That was a very,
like, I mean, I'm not saying it's never happened, but like at this level, and especially in MMA, and gi would be a whole different thing because you can grab gi. So I wouldn't be surprised to see an omoplata pulled in a black belt tournament in gi.
Yeah, because you can
have the
leverage is different.
And in your grips, yes, the leverage is different because of your grips. But like, but yeah, and so I could see that. I could, because you get your arm trapped there, and someone got a cuff grip on you. I don't know.
I don't know. I wonder if that's ever been. I don't know. Like it being,
I'm sure it's been done.
It has, but it being pulled off in UFC.
I've seen it pulled off in UFC, just not recently. Now that like everyone's,
it would just be perfect timing at that point. You know, like it's.
Or like back in the day when it was pulled off in the UFC, it was because someone had zero BJJ defense skill or like training at all. Because like back then,
on a high level in MMA,
not anymore. Right. Yeah, because like back then you could just be a kickboxer, show up, and don't train jiu-jitsu at all, and that shit would get you omoplated or something. I'm sure. You know what I mean? If someone got you to the ground.
Because isn't that a lot of the base of MMA is like UFC type, more where it's like almost old UFC. I'm talking like 30 years ago, where it's literally all these different styles of fighting coming together in the ring, and that kind of in mixed martial artists ended up dominating that very shortly.
Well, mixed martial arts didn't even really exist. It was more just like jiu-jitsu dominated, Muay Thai dominated, kickboxers dominated.
And then that just started.
And then wrestlers kind of dominated too, and then they all just kind of got together, and And then, but jiu-jitsu, I would say, dude, that and Muay Thai, dude, are like the most dominant things in MMA, in my opinion. Western boxing too.
Today's the 13th, but yesterday was the anniversary. November 12th, 1993 is when Royce Gracie
won. I actually saw that post.
And brought it,
which was here in Colorado, here in Denver.
He did it in a gi.
In a gi, and smaller than most of his opponents.
Yep.
Yeah, because that was Helio. He wanted to take his smallest son. That was his deal. He was gonna take his smallest son and put him against all the best in the world, just to prove that jiu-jitsu worked. And then,
wow.
There we go. As fate would have it. Yeah. So I don't know, dude. It's pretty cool thing. I think Thom should get into jiu-jitsu. Everyone.
I think everybody should get into jiu-jitsu.
I think everyone should get into jiu-jitsu.
I was trying to watch a YouTube video, but it didn't work because I'm trying to see. There's only been a few that have been pulled off
in UFC.
Yeah, in UFC.
I'm not surprised. It's a hard one to keep someone in.
No, and I think it was just recently too. Like in the last 4 years, the second one happened.
Okay, I'm not surprised. It's something you don't see very often.
Because that's all I keep seeing is the second time in history, and this is back in 2000.
Imagine being that guy that taps to an omoplata in a UFC fight. I mean, that'd be me. That'd be.
I assume it's the type of thing.
Who, Adam Zorski?
It's what?
I'm assuming it's the type of thing that once you're in it, if you don't defend against it successfully, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah. It just, yeah. I mean, yeah.
The only omoplata in UFC history was done by Adam Wazorski. Wazorek? I don't know. I'm butchering these names.
Does it say where he's from? You don't have to do in-depth search. Don't worry about it. So, who's the other one? Ronda Rousey? No.
No. As rare in this submission, forget thinking about the last time you saw one work in UFC. It was Ben Saunders went over Chris Heatherly at UFC Fight Night 49 in 2014.
Oh, shit. That was before I started following. But
Saunders,
people don't like, it's so rare. People don't even, again, attempt it. Like in this, they're like, not only do you not see it, it's the second time ever to happen, but they don't even attempt, they don't even try to go for it.
Well, because like if you don't have it tight or you do lose grip, which is what would happen in this place or in MMA, is you're in a pretty bad position.
Leaving yourself vulnerable.
Yeah, because so
if it has that low of a success rate, and is it because it's not tried? Is it because they're not testing? And
it could be, one of those things. It's more of a gi move. You know what I mean?
It's more of a gi move.
It's more of a gi move, like than a no gi move. But yeah, dude.
Hold on one.
Fucking jujitsu, man. Like, yeah, dude, you got to get into it. Dude.
At some juncture here, some juncture, I was waiting.
It's a good place to set the politics aside, like, and just
get your ass kicked.
Well, get your ass kicked, but then share something. Share an experience or a hobby with someone else. That may have different political views or anything.
Well, I mean that should ideally be anything.
It's true. Right? Yeah, no.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's sitting here.
But I feel like jiu-jitsu is easy to separate everything because of what's going on. Because you can't have a conversation really.
Well, is anything relevant except what's going on the mat?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Like even the other day, getting tapped out in certain situations, like. I even jokingly, I got the guy on top of me to laugh because I was like, how does it feel to know that 90% of the things you're doing to me, nobody would even see on television? He was like tapping me. He was bending my wrist. He was like about to choke me here. And I'm like, no, you're not going to get me there. I was like on the top from what everybody else is saying. So I just sent you the tweet that has the video of the second ever omoplata steal.
Okay. Well, let's check this out. Should I watch it now while we're live?
Why
I'm
not?
gonna play actually real quick on it, real quick.
So, here we'll show Tom what an omoplot is. So this is it.
See how good this description was.
Okay, so here we go. Oh, sorry about the silence, everyone.
The problem is, DC, he can't get up unless he creates space with the hips of Buller. Now he's got an omoplata, but he's stacked up against the fence.
Wow.
So here it is.
That's tight.
So, there it is. See how he is? He has him around his hand around his wrist, and then there's that shoulder lock. I think he broke his shoulder, bro.
Because he went into it, he went
Can you
right
hear
out
us,
of it,
Garon?
right?
Yeah, no, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. What? Yeah. So I mean, that was kind of a sloppy one, but he's up against the cage, to be fair.
So that's it. So that's the.
So he gets
and then
that leg
it goes
over,
under, and then,
but he has to sit through. See how he sat through there? Now there's the shoulder lock. Now he's got the shoulder lock. See how he S mount? Yeah. Yep. So that was pretty good though, man. He got that tight.
No, yeah. I mean, he luckily had the cage helping.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that actually did help him.
Yeah, that helped.
He had that pretty deep, but I think he broke his shoulder. I don't know. We'll find that out later.
I said tapping when your shoulder just goes limp.
Well, the ref will probably call it. I mean, well, if something breaks, I don't know. I'm sure that.
How often does that happen, right? Because I mean, obviously, like with the whole tapping system, the big part of that is you're going to tap or I'm going to snap your leg, snap your arm,
right?
Whatever the case may be. How often does that actually happen? I know,
probably more than we see because a lot of MMA is going on outside of the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
But like
in a major televised fight, you're not going to see.
Well, the fighter, if you're in the UFC, dude, you're an elite, being paid in elite pay like athlete. So you're not going to risk breaking your arm, tearing all that stuff up to not get to your next fight.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
It's not worth it for anybody involved.
Now there's probably some organizations over in Japan or something where like people just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Or even probably some here, that, you know, little ones, LFAs and stuff like that.
And that, I don't know about Nogi or like UFC, which I'm sure there are possibilities. I mean, it can't be that tight. I know that. But for me, there's been plenty of times where, you know, we try to tap right away. But if they get it in there fast, quick, and tight, there's times you're like, oh my God, that was close.
I actually bet you more, I could be wrong about this, but I bet you more like arms and stuff are broken in jiu-jitsu competitions than in MMA.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I bet you, just because they are not wanting to tap, because that's the whole game.
Yeah.
Is pushing,
you know, so they'll push. Yeah. And the risk of winning and your legacy is the money isn't there. So, you know, so I feel like their mentality would be different because they're just like, well, fuck it. You know, I tear up my arm. I don't give a fuck.
Well, that seems to be true in most of the UFC that I've seen. Now, it seems like most of the time one person is significantly better on the ground than the other person in most UFC that I've seen. Not necessarily that they win, but that if it goes to the ground, one person almost always seems to have kind of an immediate upper hand. I'm sure that's not always true.
Well, no, it's not always true. I mean, in the Gaethje Habib case, though, they're both black belts in jiu-jitsu. Gaethje's a college wrestler, but dude, Habib there's levels to it that are even past a black belt. You know what I mean? That are past college wrestling, that are past Olympic wrestling even, you know, and Habib, I think, is just on that level, which is just, and he just has that mentality that just can't be beaten, you know?
Yeah.
He's just, you know, his faith is real strong. Like he just seems
to be
really disciplined.
Almost universal for fighters.
What's that?
The faith factor.
The faith thing. Yeah, I think it is.
That's true for a lot of athletes in general.
That's
for whatever reason. That's one of those motivations that.
Well, especially for fighting, because they're going into something where, well, they might not come out. It's not likely that they won't, but it's a possibility for sure.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, it's quite the sport. Those combat sports.
Everybody should do it.
Where are we at on the hour?
We got about 4 minutes left. Okay. Yeah, we're here.
Well, dude, Tom, thanks for being on, dude.
Well, thanks for having me.
That was amazing. And dude, you're so great at talking. You need to start your own podcast.
You need to start one. Start it.
I think we should start. Garon and I will produce it, and it'll just be we'll call it TD News or some shit like that.
TD, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Tom blathers about whatever headlines he saw last week.
That's a terrible title. Tom.
Okay, fair enough. I wasn't.
Or like
if you have a computer that's available with Zoom and stuff like that, we could have you on like once a month for our monthly news with Tom.
I'd have to brush up a little bit. I have to move outside of just election politics.
It gives you a month to figure everything out.
Just like a weekend update version.
He's being modest. Like, dude, you follow it. You follow it every day. You'll know what to talk about.
Yeah.
You know what to talk about here.
There will be new shit.
That's
what's definitely true in a month.
Yeah.
I think I feel good about
brave
that.
new world.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
At some point, I want to come on and play some of these new games you guys have started busting out.
Oh, the initials game, that would have been
fun.
You know, from you know.
I just figured the news this time was.
Oh no,
more
I think
important.
that's great. No. These are serious times.
And it's
serious
Tom,
matters.
you know?
I'm just saying sometime down the road. I'm excited. I don't want to miss the train.
They're fun. We'll play one. We'll play one with you one of these days.
Sure.
All right. Thank you guys, everybody. Thank you for our listeners. We're back. We're going to keep doing this. We love you all. And remember,
Cousins and sons.
Cousins and sons. Don't talk about it.
Be about it.
Peace.
This episode. Please hit that subscribe button. Go follow us on all the social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
And remember, if you want to go the extra mile, you can also support us over on Patreon, where in the future we'll be able to get unreleased content and content that nobody else can see. And remember, guys, don't talk about it, be about it. Peace.